up. That's why we have you, Martin Jumbam. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Divine. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, gradually your face is becoming a familiar one. Yeah?
Well, you keep inviting me, so I can't say no.
Yeah, because you have pertinent things to come tell us. We cannot do without having you here.
Good to know that.
Those who know you better will probably say you are linked to the American Language Center in Douala.
That's right. You invited me here not too long ago, and we talked about the World Environment Day when we had our children go out and do some practical work.
You spent efforts to save the planet.
Yeah, right on. And so, yes, you invited me and we talked about that.
Okay.
And, we were quite happy with that.
You're right. Those who know you wearing that cap should also know that you're very involved with the Catholic Church in Cameroon.
That's correct.
In Douala, precisely. You were very instrumental in setting up the first Catholic radio station in Cameroon. It's called Radio Veritas.
Right.
You've been in there for the Four Camerounais too, which is owned by the Roman Catholic Church in Cameroon. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes. Le Fort Cameroun is actually the oldest newspaper in Cameroon.
All right.
It was set up in 1958 and it's gone through its ups and downs, but it has resisted.
It's still there.
Oh yes. When you go to the archives of Le Fort Cameroun, you'll be very surprised to see what is there. I always have a feeling that people have not exploited well the archives of that newspaper. It belongs to the Episcopal Conference of Cameroon. It belongs to the bishops of this country, and it is a paper that has gone through quite a lot. It's been shut down a number of times, but resilient. It came back, and you know, it's really the history of newspaper publication in Cameroon when you look at it.
Okay.
Yes, you mentioned Radio Veritas, which is the first radio station, the Catholic radio station in the country. It's about 15 years old now. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary.
How time flies.
Time flies. You remember, right? We started not too long ago. And there was quite some, you know, the initiative of the Emeritus Archbishop now, Christian Cardinal Toomey, who set it up. And got a few of us to start it. We were not quite sure what we were getting into. Okay. He too wasn't sure, so he said, well, let's just start. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, well, we take a look, step back and see where we've gone wrong. And,
I think it's working out fine. Because,
it is. Right
every now and then I listen to you on radio, I listen to my friend Wendong Augustine.
That's right, yeah, correct.
Okay, now let's come back to the crux of our discussion now.
Correct, yes.
Because I understand that for a couple of decades now, each Pope has been coming out every year with a communication message.
Yes, it's called the World Social Communications Day. Actually, you know, the Catholic Church got into the media in, actually we can say 1931,
right, when
the Vatican Radio was set up.
Okay.
The Vatican State had just been created in, I think, 1929.
And that's 1931.
Yes.
That's why I was saying that we were late in Cameroon. You know.
Yeah, so the Vatican State came in 1929 when Mussolini and the Pope signed, you know, a pact to create the state of the Vatican City, which is a state in its own. In 1931, there was Pope Pius XI, who set up Vatican Radio.
Okay.
You see, to bring out the message to the world. The church was increasingly becoming aware that evangelization had to go out using the means of social communication. Then in 1960, Pope John the 23rd, who is now St. John the 23rd, called the Vatican II Council.
Okay.
You see, it was said that he had opened a window, fresh air into the church. Good expression. And then from 1965, it was Pope Paul VI, it's now St. Paul VI, who ended the Vatican II Council because John the 23rd died along the way. Okay. And Paul VI started and created in 1967 what he called Social Communication Day. Actually, one of the conciliar documents that came out of Vatican II was a document called Inter Mirifica,
yes,
which deals directly with social communication. You know, after the Vatican II Council, there were very many conciliar documents in liturgy and this and that. But what concerns us as the as journalists was a document called Inter Mirifica. You go in there, you see the church's awareness that the message had to go out into the social media.
Okay.
Paul VI himself said the church would be guilty.
That was quite visionary because
oh yes, he said the church would be guilty if it failed to use the social means of communication to get the message, the gospel message to the world. And so in 1965 he started what has now been called Social Communication Day.
Okay.
He sent out a message.
This year was the 53rd?
53rd, yes, by Pope Francis. When you look at the history of the social communication in the church, you see Paul VI, I think he sent up about 6 messages before he died. John Paul II took over. He was really the media man, right?
Okay.
John Paul II, with the longest pontificate in history. He traveled extensively around the world.
Came to Cameroon 2 times.
Came to Cameroon on 2 occasions. 1985. 1985, I wasn't then involved with the media. 1995, when he came, I'm happy to say that I was there. He came. Okay. I was already working for Le Fort Camerounais.
All right.
So we were in Yaoundé to see him and to cover the event.
The bulk of the reporting was done by the international media.
Oh yes, for sure.
The Catholic.
we were kind of lacking, you know, because all we had was Le Fort Camerounais.
Okay.
You see? And let me tell you one thing. When I think Benedict XVI, actually, who took over from John Paul II, came to Cameroon. And when he was coming to Cameroon, somebody called us from the Vatican, one of the journalists, and said, "You are not visible. The Catholic Church is not visible. The Pope is coming to your country, and we are looking for you, and we can't find you." What he really meant was that there's, you know, now with the social media, website and so on,
right.
the Catholic Church in Cameroon does not have a website. It does not have, it's not visible in the media. And it struck us very, very much. By then I was working for the Catholic Diocese here as director of Macacos.
Right.
And, you know, it struck me. I went to the bishop and I said, "Look, this is what they're saying." And he said, "Well, you know, it's you people to see what we can do." Okay. So we've been working on that. But coming back to the World Communication Day, as I said, each year the Pope sends out a message on, to guide, to explain the position of the Church in terms of social media, to say that the media, the Church cannot be absent from the social media, because the message of the Church has to go out. The gospel has to go out.
Is it going out?
Well, I think to a considerable extent, yes, it is. Because when you see the involvement of the Church now in social media, it's very present.
What I see more, and that question was a tricky one too.
Yeah.
What I see more is the Pentecostals.
Yes. I mean, you know, they do a lot. They do a lot more because
everywhere on Facebook and WhatsApp and so on.
And that is where I think I will agree with you. The Catholic Church has to do some catching up there.
Right.
Because these other people, you know, the structure of the Church is such that, you know, there's always where a Pentecostal minister will have his church and puts out whatever he wants whenever he wants it. You know, with us we have a hierarchy.
Okay.
You know, I have to get clearance from the bishop for certain things, and the bishop has to be aware of it and understand it and so on. So it doesn't move as fast as we have in many of the other churches around. But
I was doing, and I'm sorry to interrupt you there brusquely. I'll do a back pedal to last week. I was listening to my favorite radio station is the BBC, and I heard the Pope actually saying that if you have things to say about the Church and my position,
right,
don't go to social media. Come on, let's talk things out face to face. That's like censoring. At the same time, you're promoting and putting limits on what message goes out of the Catholic Church.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. But how do you get to the Pope anyway? You know, it's come and talk to him face to face. He's just somebody you can't just walk in and talk to him. Okay. But the media actually. And I'm surprised he said that, because you know, in this 53rd message, you know, he does say that it is important for the church to be aware of the existence of social media. But then, you know, there are guidelines.
Okay.
Yes, because the social media is being used in most cases
for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for all the wrong reasons. You know, it is the amount of denigration of people, and the Pope is aware of this, very much aware of the impact.
Okay.
You know, fake news. Actually, last year's message, he centered his message of last year on fake news.
Okay.
You know, and warning us in the in Catholic communication to stay clear of fake news, not to report just anything.
Right.
And we see what that is, fake news is doing even right in our country
Right.
today.
It's just
You know,
damage,
what don't you find in WhatsApp and on Facebook and so on? The people putting all kinds of things. There has to be a way of vetting that information to put out. That's what the Pope is really saying.
Okay.
So that I consider you, you know, as a brother. If I consider you as a brother, there's no way I'm going to put some of the things out there, sometimes without verifying.
Yeah, some are intentional to settle scores or just blacklist people.
Oh yeah, settle scores.
Give them a bad name and hang them.
Yes, and that is extremely dangerous, especially in a country like ours today, going through such what we're going through, the turbulence we're going through in our country today.
Okay.
You see, you don't know who is saying what and so on. So the Pope and the Church is actually saying, well, let's know what we're saying and make sure that what we're putting out there is not to destroy the other person.
Okay.
You know, but to build the other person up. And that has been the essence of all these messages the popes sent out. And in 2010, there was Benedict XVI, who is now the emeritus, put out his message to priests, particularly.
Okay.
Yes, he said, now look, priest, be aware. You know, the social media is there. Please master the social media and use it to communicate the gospel. He addressed his message directly to priests.
Okay.
Yes, and it's a good thing that in our country today, you know, some priests are already, in a sense, using.
They're embracing it.
Yes,
and they must watch out because
using the social media to put out the messages of the church and of the gospel.
Okay.
Yes, so that is going through, and we hope you know, it will go.
Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you very much.
And those priests should be careful, right? Because if we get the stories about the pedophile stories, and
yes,
we will report them. Right?
That's correct. Yes, and they are aware of it. I mean, and the church is taking very stern measures now, you know, to protect children,
okay,
to protect people from priests. I mean, it's a scandal of great proportion. One cannot minimize that. And so there are measures being taken to bring order into the
Finally, thank you for coming. So thanks a lot.
Well, it's always my pleasure.
It's nice to have those insights, and
give me a call anytime.
You bring everything down to earth, and you make us understand how the Catholic Church functions.
Right.
When you come around next time, we'll probably be looking at blood donation.
Oh yes,
The hurdles to it.
Recently, there was a World Day of blood donation, I think it is. No, a few days ago.
Okay.
It was celebrated.
On the 14th?
Yeah, I believe so. 14th.
Yeah, if I'm not totally mistaken.
Yes, so yeah, it would be good to talk about it.
Okay.
And, you know, I have, but I don't work in the hospital. I don't. But I'm a blood donor.
You're concerned,
and I have my good reasons for donating blood, and I know that many Cameroonians are afraid of donating blood, but there's nothing to fear about that.
Take our greetings to the kids. They've gone on break already.
Oh yes, well, some are still around. Yes, they will soon go on break.
All right.
So
just carry our greetings to them and tell them we'll come to visit.
Yeah. We'll be happy to have you. We're not far from here, just a stone's throw from here.
Thanks once again. I wonder if you know the things that men do that annoy women. I'm not sure, but then this is the slot we call Perspectives. And here's what men do that get women